Hello, everybody. My name is Donatello Fumarola. I'm teaching history of cinema at Rufe University for the Film Arts Master. And today, the public talk, Asylum, today it is dedicated to an African filmmaker, Taye Balogun, who is here with us. And we will talk about film arts. What does it mean to make films? What does it mean for an African filmmaker to make films? And this is it. Taye, he has made documentary film, fiction film. He's going to shoot a musical, for example, and maybe later we can ask him if he can talk with us about it. And he has a very interesting point of view, since the name of these public talks, Asylum, for several reasons, cross what is it a political matter for many refugees. Taye is also the artistic director of the NGO Film Festival, which take care about movies which are made from NGO association or around themes that could touch, let's say, this kind of item. Taye, good evening. And let's start. I would like to mention something that we were talking before with Taye, which is we were thinking that this meeting was physically, let's say, in front of an audience, a real audience, while very, very late, just because of us, not because of who organized it, we realized that this meeting was only online. So we start to think about a kind of a metaphor that the human beings, if I can say, are asking asylum to this digital platform. And it could be tricky for some reason. Cinema it's I will say that it's more or less the same thing. We are asking, metaphorically speaking, some kind of asylum to the images for helping us in the expression of what we would like to express for political reason, philosophical reason, entertainment reason. The scale, the layers of the creation of a film are really a lot. So Taye, since you cross so many registers, if I can say, for example, recently we have seen exactly in Rome one of your latest film, the one dedicated to this beautiful musical group from Nigeria, Sarabi, which is half a documentary, half it could be also considered as a fiction film, since what they are doing is to create a situation that could allow not only the entertainment, listen to the music, but also like social development for the kids, for the people who is around the city in which the Sarabi are.
Is this the time for me to talk?
If you want.
Thank you, Donatello, and thanks to the organizers of this public talk from the roofer. Thanks to Anna and Christian and Claudia and Carlo and everybody behind the scene that I do not know about. But good. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure living in Rome. Living in Rome has been a quite, it's an opening. It's an opening for you get to see a lot. I've lived in Europe before. Before moving here, I've never visited Italy as a country, but over the last 1 year plus, close to 2 years now, I've been living here, and I can actually call it a home. As far as that's concerned. I am a filmmaker. but my film is triggered by observations. My observations becomes an obligation. Once I see issues, um, so I don't look for films. I don't write stories. I just observe. I watch the news. I watch, I listen to society, trying to understand what people are doing. Based on that, I want to create, because I like to create films that are not that are just there to entertain. My job is not to entertain people. As a filmmaker, I have taken this I've taken this leeway to decide not to entertain nobody. My job is to educate and provoke conversations. So, and that's what all my art is all about. And since I've been living here, I think there are many stories that I would like to tell, and it's been a privilege to live in a historical country such as Italy, and very passionate people such as the Italians, and having a good friend such as Donatello.
Taye, can I interrupt you?
Please, I'm already done.
Because you mentioned, you said that you do not want to make any entertainment. You would like to educate, let's say, or to give some like didactic touch, if I can say that.
Actually, to provoke. I want to provoke people.
I like the word provoke. In
Yeah.
Italy, we have had one of the greatest Italian filmmakers, which is Roberto Rossellini, the one who made Rome Open City, for example, or Paisa. He was, especially in the last part of his career, after having done some films between the late 40s and the 50s, some very important films that, let's say, all around the world influenced so many different kind of movie making. When he get back after a short experience in Hollywood, which was very bad for him, when he get back to Italy, and he had, let's say, the possibility to have a lot of money for doing films with the most important actors of that moment, Vittorio De Sica, etc. He made a different choice. In the beginning of the 60s, he started to have a need of something that would not be entertainment anymore. Even his first future were not entertainment, but still they were, let's say, on the more or less on the line of a modern cinema or a classical cinema with the big cameras, 35 millimeters cameras, actors, Ingrid Bergman, or even the non-professional actor were part of it, because it is not an invention of the Italian neorealism to use the people who is not actor in their real life. But in the 60s, he started to like a path which was, how to say, meant to be didactic, not to entertain. And he started to make, for example, a TV series, which the English title could be The Strength of the Human Being for Their Survival. And it was like in 12 hours, the history of the human being since Neanderthal until Yuri Gagarin and Neil Armstrong on the moon, the man that went in the space from Russia or United States. So, but he was using the tools of the entertainment, the set design, movie cameras, sometimes actors, and storylines. I think that you have a very close relationship with this attitude, and I think it's very important. For example, last films you have made, Music is Our Weapon, it play with the entertainment, the music, these kids which are very talented in in playing something that could be considered just entertainment. But but if we start to listen to the words of these songs, and if we start to know, as you did, the story of these guys, that they do not limitate their activity to music, but they made something more important. They touch, let's say, something which I think is not more important than music, but they put at the same level. This is for me the good didactic side. They put at the same level the entertainment and the social needs that is the society, especially the society of the suburbs of these gigantic cities that you have in Nigeria, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First, I
First,
would
I
like
would
to
like to
say
say
Sarabi was is not from Nigeria. I
Kenya.
am a
The one is
Nigerian, but
wrong.
Sarabi is from Kenya. Yeah. Just for clarification, but I know you forgot. You skipped you. Um, I consider myself as an African filmmaker because I've shot in a lot of countries in Africa. And in the sake of this conversation, I can already introduce myself as a global filmmaker because I've also shot in Europe and I've shot in America as well. My first thing is always who tells the story? Who tells the story? And, when I went to Kenya, um, and, living in Kenya at the time when I moved there, it was, I was really interested in the social interaction of the Kenyans. And it was very quick to assess, to take an audit of this community, that they were very classist in nature. So depending on who you are, where did you school, what part of the city do you live in, who do you hang out with, those are the things that determines your reality in that country, and especially in that city called Nairobi where I was staying. And because cinema is so huge, it's a weapon to actually rewrite certain narratives. And when I came across this young man, like I said again, it was an obligation. You know, when I saw young people who are doing amazing work, but with all the filmmakers in with all the filmmakers in Kenya, nobody took their time to put a camera on them. So I felt like it's an obligation for me to do, because this is what I've been talking about prior before. I've been advocating for young people's spaces, young people in political spaces, young people in change, young people in employment on the continent, across the continent, across the 54 countries. And that was how my activism came about. Because I am not the type of African that you just talk to. No, I am a different type of African, and I'm privileged, because even it takes a privileged African to be able to you know be having this conversation with you. Um, but I do know for a fact that these young people, their story can inspire other people as well. And like Tupac said in his 1995 interview, they said, "Oh, you claim you're going to change the world. How are you going to do it?" And he said, "I didn't say I was going to change the world. I said I was going to trigger somebody who would change the world." And I think that's what cinema is, and African cinema as well. That's what it is. And for me, because I have been confronted by different issues on the continent, you look at the peace and security issue on the continent, the climate issues on the continent, the governance issue, accountability issue, corruption issue, women issue on the continent. You look at all this spiral of issues on the continent, and I am not obligated to make another film that will make people excited. No, I want people to walk into the cinema, watch my film, and start thinking of what next to do. What can I do to help society? So constantly, I mean, there is an element of entertainment um, in in every film, depending on how you package it, depending on how you present your film. But I mean, there's a lot of music with the advent of social media, Instagram and Facebook. You have all these so-called, influencers who are doing skits, comedy skits online. There's so much to watch. So within all of that, we might have forgotten that there is a problem in Mali. There is a problem. There is a peace and security issue in Burkina Faso. There is famine in Somalia. There's all these issues, and these are the reason. Now I'm getting back to the topic. All these issues, our artists, our musicians, all our filmmakers, they just want to excite us, and this excitement is shifting the conversation or the attention from the issue, from the problems that Africans are having. So when you're hungry and someone makes you laugh, you forget that you're hungry. So my job is to take the attention back to the hunger. Like, don't forget, you still have, you're still hungry. You still don't have job. Your government has not provided you good health care. Your government have not been accountable for the money that they got from this donor. These are some of the things that I like to do. So, in other words, when you have this problem and you have young people who are not problem solvers because they've been given all the time, they've always been given things. Unfortunately, that's when you start seeing people tripping out of the continent, coming to Europe to look for better life, and it's not better here. I can already see since I've been living in Europe, a lot of Africans who are here in one type of way are actually struggling very much because it takes you know people from the other parts might just look at them and say, you're an asylum seeker, you're a refugee, you're trying to look for papers. But these people have layers of issues to deal with before even conforming or even integrating into any society. And because there's a problem that they've left behind that was being distracted by the art community who just want to entertain people, that's what you get. And when they get here, they have no clue on what to do. And films like Sarabi, the team like Sarabi from the slums of Kenya, they were able to headline a music festival such as Roskilde in Denmark. They were able to, headline a music festival in London called Africa Oye. They went to the Wamex in Budapest. But what took them there is their talent. And that's why I'm always focused on talent. Talent can get you anywhere. So, and all these people, all these immigrants and refugees and asylum seekers, all of them, if they are properly audited, if every individual are properly audited, you would find that they have a special skills that can actually be used in some other country, some of this European country. But we ignore those things and we just see human. We see a human who is so desperate to come and look for a life here, and it's not going to be better. Sorry, over to you. I'm getting too passionate right now.
Now, can I, following this, because I know that you are going to make a musical, right? In Tanzania. if I'm
Yeah,
not-
that's correct.
I wonder, how do you match the need of doing something that could have like a didactic strength, I will call it, and something that is automatically spectacles? Because as we know, any kinds of musical from India to Hollywood, it's, let's say, the spectacle in itself, people who is dancing, some music. I wonder how, at least in your mind or in your script, you will let the things be linked. I'm very curious of this. I never asked you this.
Yeah. So you saved all your questions for this moment. Smart you.
No, I have several questions, but it was for following the Rossellini side because I'm very interested in how you deal with the necessity of not playing the rule of the, I don't know, the poor African filmmaker that shows the bad things, etc., etc. Let's say I'm really interested in how, as a filmmaker, real, proper, good filmmaker, you let your work overpass the first, let's say, surface, which is for cinema, it's equal from the any documentary or any fiction film. So since you are going to make one of the most, not celebrated, but one of the most unreal situation, a musical. Nobody of us will sing. Okay, we can sing under the shower or playing with some friends, but at the same time, we will never have a discussion singing or dancing.
Right. I
Uh,
mean, are you done? Sorry.
yeah.
All right. Thank you, Donatello. I just wanted to take you back a little bit. That one of one of the things that have united Africans, you know, one of the things that have united Africa is not political, it's not economical, it's not immigration, it's music. I can stand in front of 54 presidents, me, Taye Balogun, I can stand in front of 54 African presidents and I will tell them that they don't have anything in common. But I can stand in front of five artists from just five countries, not 54. Five artists from five countries, and I can tell you how unified those people are because they speak one language, the art, the music. And music on the continent right now, music, African music right now is going global. No, I'm going to rephrase that. African music has gone global.
Yes,
So a lot
more
of
than
people,
100 years right now.
huh?
Since more than 100 years, if you think about jazz music, who has been done by
Absolutely,
African American or
absolutely.
even in
Perhaps we can,
Brazil.
yeah, perhaps we can say this is you know, a cycle. Coming back to it, and with this, I was very curious that I wanted to leverage on the fact that music is now buzzing on the continent. It is now my responsibility to use that element of music to be reflected in my film. And that was the only decision, that was the quickest decision ever to say, okay, my next project has to be a musical because the world is listening to us right now. And my film is not only musical, it's a political drama. It's a story about a young girl, an underdog young girl that came from nobody to become a elected, an elected, officer in political officer, political position in the society, an underdog. So because there are lots of women, young girls out there who are very suppressed. The African culture, most of our African culture are very patriarchal. And in this growing age of liberation, feminist movements, and things like that, we need to actually include these women in conversations. And that was the reason why I was very deliberate. I'm a very deliberate artist. The writer is from Zimbabwe. You know, my DP is from another country. Like I usually put, you know, like almost like 6, 7 countries, cast and crew to mix them together to make a film because I like to see different perspectives as well. So for me, how do I merge this? It's easy. Politicians usually call on musicians to do campaigns for them. When politicians treat artists like culinaries, like kitchen utensils. You know, when you don't have, if you have a waffle machine in your kitchen and you don't eat waffles all the time, you don't need it. But the day you have a visitor who likes waffle machine, that's the day you go to your kitchen and bring out the waffle machine. That's how politicians treat artists. They don't care about artists until the election time. They will look for you. They will call you all kinds of names. They will make you nice because they know they need your following. They need your voice, and they need you to excite the crowd whenever they go for their manifestos. And I want to flip that over. And in Africa, a lot of people think if you do not have money, you cannot go into politics. So my film called The Revolution Road is my upcoming film called The Revolution Road is actually also addressing such issues. um, and hence the reason why I am very passionate about certain issue. I'm not just a filmmaker that just put a camera on someone. No, I'm I don't I might not make too many films in my lifetime. Actually, it might just be like 10, 15 films, but they must be critical. Because these films has to speak about issues that we cannot ignore, and that's the reason why, for me, elements that can tell my story properly are the things that I like to infuse or integrate into my storytelling, and I think music will do that part for me.
You make me think about one of the greatest African filmmaker, which is Djibril Diop Mambéty, an old guy, let's say, now sadly died. He made around 68 an amazing film, one of the best film made in that period worldwide, which was called Tuki Buki. I don't know how to translate it in English or in any other language. This guy, while all over the world were spreading what we call the new waves, first in France, then in Brazil, in the United States, in Japan, in Russia, in several places of the world, a new generation started to make like a more fresh cinema and a more modern, let's say. Djibril Diop Mambéty made the same in Africa with very hard condition, economically speaking, but he was not interested in showing what were, for example, no, I'm wrong. I was saying not in the right way. He was, let's say, interested in showing the life, the real life that he was doing and his mates, his pals, they were doing together. So the story is the story of a young guy, like 20 years old, with a beautiful motorbike. He put on the motorbike
The horn.
yeah, of a cow, if I remember. And he's just like juggling around, like Jean-Paul Belmondo in Abu de Souffle by Godard, for example. I remember very well that he was initially, especially from, this is very funny, not funny, but sad, from the European critic, he was not enough engaged. Since he let himself have the freedom just to show what was the reality of boys and girls, not from Paris, but from, I don't remember the city where the film has been shot. I think it was Ouagadougou, maybe.
Burkina Faso, yeah.
And it's an incredible film. You can, if you are Japanese or African or Brazilian, you can understand the feeling, what the film is communicating also. Not just to play, I don't know, to underline what was wrong in the society. You can get it, but from the storylines and the dynamic that you have between the characters, the guy who is driving the motorbike and his girls, because he do not have just one girl, but several. But the funny thing is that around 68, the people who was having much more responsibility and consciousness were the women. And so even for the old Europe was too much. and they were, let's say, accusing one of the most strong and conscious filmmaker to be superficial just because he was playing with music. You listen a lot of music in the film. So it was just for saying that you reminds me that kind of attitude, which I think is, if you want to make film arts, this is the way, or this is one of the way. Uh, Sorry, maybe it was too long.
No. I mean, you're making a very interesting point, Donatello. Simply because we have to also unpack. We have to unpack what the audience think of certain films. I think we had this conversation once, me and you, when you had invited me for a screening, and I remember telling you that what when we use this very flamboyant way of just making ambiguous statements, such as somebody is an incredible filmmaker, someone is the best filmmaker in Europe, someone is the best filmmaker in whatever. It's a very ambitious and very vague statement sometimes. And I remember I telling you asked me about this film, and I said, look, if you have if there's a famous chef in Italy, for instance, and everybody confirms this chef as the best chef in Italy, I'll tell you what, when this chef goes to India, he'll probably be the worst chef in India because he does not know how to cook their food. He has to become a student again to be able to learn Indian cuisine, and also be humble enough to say, I don't know anything. I'm just going to come learn something new. But if an Italian chef who grew up in India makes an Indian film, then is justified because he grew up in India. And if the Indians now make him the best Italian chef in India, then that's for them. So most times I do not agree, and you can quote me on this one. I do not agree with juries of international or whatever film festivals in Europe when they applaud certain African filmmakers. And I've seen over the years that most of the films that I applaud are films that are detrimental to our culture and our identity as Africans. They would never applaud. There are amazing films that uplifts us as Africans. European audience or jurors don't see those films as being celebrated. So I'm saying in support to your submission that this filmmaker whose character is driving a bicycle around Ouagadougou is a beautiful way of communicating to his own people. He's actually making the film for his own people. If anybody consumes it and you don't like it, then it's not for you. Like just like the Italian chef, if the Italian chef make a meal and a Japanese eats it and say, "Oh, this food is not interesting," that means the food is not for you. But Italians find it very lovely, and that's what I say about film. Anybody who makes a film is targeting an audience. You have to think about your audience before you making a film. It's like you curating a menu for an invited guests in your house. You need to know what their diet is. You need to understand who has an allergy, who eats what, before you can curate a menu for your invited guests. And I think filmmakers don't think that deep anymore because a lot of people just have stories dangling in their head and they just want to spit it out. An European audience have not learned about these people called Africans that much. European audience only consume American content more than African content. So if you consume more of this Americanized content, then you lose the other story. And I remember a Nigerian writer called Chimamanda Adichie, one of the most celebrated author in Africa and in the world, said, there, she said something about, the danger of single story, the danger of single story, and I think that's uh, um, and I think that's the problem with the with the way that we look at things. For me to be able to understand the European audience, I have to live here. And now it's a privilege for me to have friends and colleagues, from Rufa, from Donatello, and all these people. I have friends I can call. You've invited me to your house. I've seen the Italian culture. Now I'm getting it. So when I see this Americanized version of mafia film, now I play it down. I tell Martin Scorsese, no, you overdid it. You overdid it. Like talents are not actually like this, But there's a commercial part of film that we must not also ignore, and that's what America is. America sees film purely as a commercial product. In Europe, people still have an intellectual conversation around film. In Africa, film is pure entertainment because we are consume a lot of American content, and that was the and and that's also the gateway because you find a boy from Senegal who has not never left America. I mean, left Senegal, knows so much about America just because of this amount of films, hours from his birth to whatever teenage years he is. He has consumed so much of American content that he has become America in his head and ignore his own, identity. And this boy, his only aspiration is to travel to America because you have exposed America so much to him that he just wants to get there. And so as what the European have done, they've so much. Oh, the Europe is lovely. If I go for window shopping, I would like to buy that product. So if you window shop Europe to us, then you will find a lot of young people on the Mediterranean wanted to come here, wanted to come and see all those nice things that you keep telling them about. And that's why me as an advocate, I have actually disruptly said that we should reduce foreign content in Africa. At some point, I've said it that we need to reduce foreign content in Africa
What,
because
what do you mean? I mean, try to explain better.
we need to have a balance. We need to know that the Europeans are consuming African. I want to go to cinemas here and see a lot of African films, and knowing the data that a lot of Europeans are consuming African cinema, not in festivals, because Europeans only go to festivals to watch African films. But how often do you consume African? Because we are clustered, we are clustered with foreign films, both, American, British, now Korean, Mexican. There are all these films on TV stations, on everywhere. Everybody's just watching it, and Indian as well. People are consuming it. I mean, not much of Italian, but or in other European countries, but British America, Chinese film, Korean. There's so much in Africa, and when you raise a child that only consumes products, you are what you consume. Whatever you consume all the time, you become it, and that's the power of the visuals, and that's what America has used to capture the world. America has actually used media to capture the world. Before you know anything about what is happening in Napoli, you probably hear of the breaking news of something in New York that doesn't, and um, what's this guy, Johnny Depp and his wife breaking up. Like that's the news for them. For us, there's starvation in Somalia. There's famine. People are dying. They cannot. There's a climate crisis in Malawi. There is, insurgency in Nigeria, Boko Haram. You cannot, there is there is a, you know, there's a suppression of women's voices in Uganda, in Sudan. How do we deal with that? So you see where I mean when I say I don't want to be part of the statistics of entertaining people anymore. Like, go on YouTube, entertain yourself, but not for me. I wouldn't spend my money to entertain you because there's enough of it.
Can I say something about the audience? Because I think it could be like a tricky field. Let's say, I think that sometimes artists, for example, maybe they could address to an audience that is still not living. Maybe the audience would be in the future. We have, for example, history of cinema in any country. It's full of films that has been made in some moment, the 30s, the 60s, the 80s, whatever, and nobody was, let's say, understanding the meaning of the artistic operation or the political operation through one film. And maybe 20 years, 30 years, 50 years later, for different reason, one film find its own audience. I mean, it's very dangerous when we talk about audience, because I think that the very first interest of the industry that make money through films, it's their primary interest to have to have the possibility to calculate what Taye want to watch, what Donatello want to watch. I mean, and I think it could be positive to escape to certain, I don't know, level of predictable, I don't know, tools. Because, as you said, since cinema could be a weapon, it could be a weapon with two sides, like a knife that you can get from one side or the other side. So I wanted just to add this, because I think it's very, very tricky when we talk about audience. And my experience, for example, when I worked for television, was if you treat the people as intelligent being, the answer probably, I will say, 70% will be an intelligent answer. If you treat the people as kids with no possibility to any autonomous thinking, they will give you a very easy and superficial answer. So it makes a big difference. If I follow your suggestion, thinking of this, it's not to know, it's not a matter about, let's say, knowing who is the audience to whom we are showing our pictures, but to find, how to say, like a communication, a way how to let the things that we are doing as filmmakers to be clear to other human beings. And the matter of the, let's say, the local matters, the identity. You came from Nigeria, I came from Rome. My cultural identity could be the strength that I can use in the communication with you that came from a totally different continent, but we can find the point where to have a meeting, a discovery, let's say, an exchange. I think this is, let's say, the under my interpretation, the matter about audience, because we are audience too. You as a filmmaker are the first audience of your film.
So I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
So you're right, but I'm not buying it. And you know,
I know you do.
Product as well. I'm not buying it. Because you see, I know you like Ethiopian food. And I would like to know, how do you discover Ethiopian food?
I think
Can you remember the first time you tasted Ethiopian food? Where was this?
in Roma, in a place close to Via Prenestina.
What was your interest? Why did you have so much urge to taste an Ethiopian food? Were you invited?
I was
Did
invited.
someone invited you?
Yeah,
And the
and
first
the invitation was very important. Let's say
okay.
to be taken from somebody who want to let you discover something that you do not know.
No, exactly. I like that. I like that. So hold on to that thought. So what I'm saying, what I'm trying to get into is someone has invited you to consume a product that you have never had before. And it is within you to decide whether or not that product is something that you would take again or that will be the last time for it. And because of your open-minded um, aspect of you, you were able to dive into a cuisine that you've never been exposed to. That's trust, that's honesty, and that's respect. When you eat someone's food, that means you trust. That means you trust them. When you eat someone's food, that means you respect them, even if you don't like it. You just eat it. When you go home, you can go put your hand and vomit. But in that space, you would eat just because you want to show them that you respect them and you trust them. So, in the aspect of cinema, if you have not consumed my film or you don't know how I live, you don't know me as a person, but you want to judge my film, I'm sorry. You see what I mean? So you have to be able to bring yourself to understand, and you might watch African film once or, but at least try it first. Then if you don't like it, you say, "Oh, this is not for me."
As
But
an
I,
active audience,
huh?
as an active audience, not a passive
Exactly,
audience.
exactly. So there is a moment that we have to take a step back and say, you know, when I came here, people talk about pasta, pizza, and gelato, and some people come here like, I don't like pasta and pizza, but I love it. I mean, and we have gelato all the time. But I'm sure there's some Italians who don't even like, I don't know. I've never seen who doesn't like gelato.
It
Or
depends. But it depends. How do you make it?
exactly, exactly. So, and these are some of the things that I'm talking about. That audience, and I keep talking in festivals as well. That festival audience are the very acquired taste people. Festival audience are completely different. As a matter of fact, that you find them less. They don't actually go to cinema to watch commercial film. They love festival films because festival films are genuinely made. They're not made for the commercial market, and and that's the reason why someone like me then created the NGO International Film Festival, so that we can start seeing films that are made by ordinary people who are not even filmmakers, who have not gone to film school, who have no anything to do with film, but they just want to tell stories. So I call them storytellers as opposed to filmmakers, because film is a medium. As a storyteller, you can tell your story anyhow. And back to the audience needs to understand that they should explore, other people's content. Then you can make your own decision. But if you're only stuck to one, this is what we know, this is how my grandfather has been doing it, this is what we're going to be watching, then you're losing out. You're losing out. So you are not your taste as an audience is not refined. And that's the problem when you have such people on Euros judging judging films that are coming out of Africa, or who are not even, they don't even know, like the way you're calling filmmakers from Africa, and you've seen a lot of African films. Some people are not that exposed such as you. And I'm sorry, but it is what it is. And that's the reason why it's my, it's my responsibility now to start bringing those films here.
Can I ask you, because it's a question that maybe do not need a precise answer, because, for example, I'm the first one to do not have an answer about it. But I think that in the last 10 or maybe 20 years, something happened in the technology that we are using. And according to this, in the life of the people who deal with mobile phones or computer or uh, uh, wireless communication, we are now, I'm in a part of the city, probably, I don't know, 5-6 kilometers from where you are and from where Luca, the director of this streaming, is. Probably he's in a different part of the city. I wonder if all these tools and these devices and the forms that this, I will not say new communication, but this different communication that is taking place at any level, even the films that are made just for the streaming. For example, a lot of the Netflix films. This morning we were talking about Netflix, but it's not the only one. I wonder if, for example, as an old cinephile, grew up in the theater, in the dark theater with the film projection, I'm asking to myself, what will be the future of this thing that I don't know if we still can call it cinema as it is right now. Now we can make a film with this. Steven Soderbergh, a great American filmmaker, he made 3 films with a mobile phone, and good films, which even the quality of this tool is even better of a 35 Panasonic from the 70s.
Vision, yeah.
Or a Panavision, yeah. I mean, I'm asking to you as somebody who is making films, so what would be the field where you can put your seeds and let grows up the fruits of your experience as an artist, as a human being, as a political thinker, as a whatever you want?
Thank you for that interesting question. I think film is the food. The cinema culture is the dinner table. You can either choose to eat your food by yourself, or you choose to eat with your friends or your family. If you enjoy making your food by yourself and eating by yourself on the dining table for the rest of your years in life, then bravo to you. But if you think that, I want to, each time I want to eat with my family members. And that for me is very crucial. So making films on Netflix and Amazon Prime and all this, Disney Plus, on smartphone, we can watch films. Those are self-entertaining, selfish technology made by some zombies called programmers. And I do get it. I love the fact that people want to self-entertain themselves, but I would rather have you, Claudia, Christiana, Anna, and Luca. I would rather have us after this call to go and have a coffee and talk, as opposed to me having a coffee by myself. The moment technology starts taking away this human interaction, we're losing it. The studio system in America, the Warner Brothers, the Paramount Pictures, the reason why they had the studio system is that the moment the film finishes, they go into the cinema to watch it. And it's actually something that they all look forward to. And that's the reason why they started owning cinemas in those eras. So Netflix and all the streaming platform, I don't want to mention the brand name, but all the streaming platforms, they are just going to decline very soon. Very, very. You cannot take away human interaction. Human have a behavioral element that would not change. Movement, sleeping, eating, curiosity, development, that's human behavior. It would keep happening, whether in this lifetime or next. In the, something BC, they created the pyramid. Now we created the FaceTime. In the future, there might be something else when we are not here. And they will also be researching us. Like, what did we do while we were here? But one thing would remain common. People would gather to watch, to experience, and entertain themselves together. And that's the future. So the future still remains cinema. There's nothing like streaming. Streaming is gonna fade out very soon. Very soon, my friend.
I will write on my agenda today that you were telling this. I think it's a very beautiful last sentence for our talk for today. I'm not that positive, but I will be, let's say, I will follow you. I'm more like a nihilistic guy. No, but it's true. I mean, I noticed that when we get the collective dimension of any experience, not just about on watching film, it make a big difference and people feel it. But let's see what will happen. So thank you, Taye.
Thank you to you too.
A lot today. And,
yeah, me too.
Hope to see you around in Rufa physically, let's say, real body.
Yeah. When you guys invite me, I'll definitely come. I would love to come to your campus and interact more.
Okay. So yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know if our director is listening to us and what we should be.
Ciao, everybody.